Hey, folks, this is Rebel Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tornado tank account.
And psychic Tom Petty with a shiny new crystal ball.
Yeah. And still, big fight over the weekend. I did not win any money on it. I should have known it was going to go the distance. Should have just bet that flat. But yeah, main event did not go my way. I thought Justin Gaethje would have enough to knock out his opponent Fiziev, who was a heavy favorite for really having no big experience in those kind of fights. You know, it wasn't a championship fight or anything, but still, he seemed like they were both trying to fight a little bit of a smart fight the whole time in the co-main event, and I didn't get to see the main event because I was in Maine for the first time in centuries. No, a few months. So I went up to Maine, and we had to go up to the bar to meet some people right before the main event. And I was checking it like 4 or 5 times in the bar. It was still going, and I was like, yeah, it went the distance. But I kind of expected Edwards to win just because it was in the UK, in his backyard. And, life is different as the champion, and he had a streak going for him at that time. And just ran into the brick wall that was Usman's style. And I'm sure every day since then he's trained to make sure that he keeps that belt. And he was just like, no. I mean, from what I know, I just could guess. I haven't seen any of the fight even since. I didn't get a chance to watch it before the show, but I would just assume that the crowd, it was a majority decision, so it was close, but it just came down to maybe ring generalship, more striking. I don't know. But it sounds just like he's relied on a lot of different things that had the fight kind of guaranteed to go his way. I actually thought that Kamaru Usman needed to knock him out. So some of my alternative bets were Edwards by decision and the KO for Usman, but I guess it wasn't that kind of fight. I don't know. But there's a couple fights I got dead on right. I did not get the draw. Couple of the first ones I bet on, I just bet like 50 cents to $1 on every draw, just in case one of them paid out, because they were like plus 5,000 odds. But then I was just like, no, there hasn't been a draw in a while, so I blew my chance on that one. But yeah, I got a few here and there bets. Nothing super crazy. But anyway, the big thing is, and still, Leon Edwards handling Usman, majority decision. Gaethje, actually, I think fought one of the most boring fights I've ever seen him in, unfortunately. But he kind of had to against Fiziev because for some crazy reason Fiziev had, all the sportsbook fooled into thinking he was going to be the winner. And there was kind of a little bit of a hometown element because he was from the European area there. So that probably played a little bit into it. But Gaethje, it was like Fiziev knew if he stood in the pocket with Gaethje too long, he was going to be the one that was going to get knocked out. And he almost did a couple times, but Gaethje was just like, no, I'm not gonna make a fool out of myself. I'm not gonna get in there and trade with this asshole because he could knock me out. And there was a couple times where
He fought smart.
Fiziev could have, and he hesitated. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna go in after him. We're just gonna keep fighting at a distance, go all 3 rounds. But the fact that he got cut open and he got some real sharp hooks and uppercuts that landed late in the fight on his face, Fiziev just kind of got into that desperation role. He sometimes gets in that mode and just goes ballistic at the end of the fight and wins, but this time he just kind of rode it out. I don't know why it was a majority decision and not a unanimous one, but I thought Gaethje just outpointed him, out-strategized him, and outlasted him. So, that was my favorite fight of the night, although I would have liked to see Gaethje knock him out. I thought that was going to be the play, but it wasn't. Gunnar Nelson by submission, automatic. That's like Bo Nickel winning in the first round, the last one. Gunnar Nelson, yeah. Submission over Barberena. I took that one. I won that bet. Jennifer Maia, I did not see coming with the decision over Casey O'Neill. And Roman Dolidze and Marvin Vettori, I had bets on either side. Vettori by decision was the consensus out there and the picks from the media. So that one paid off. But Jack Shore over a submission specialist by submission, I did not see coming. A flat money line bet would have been better on him. I knew he was going to win, but did not see him going by submission. The other guy gave me all of his wins by submission. I didn't think he would. You'd think some of those guys that do those submissions know how to defend them all too, but I guess Jack Shore is really good at that shit. I didn't get to see that one either. And then there were a couple Duncans on the card. I bet the wrong Duncan to get the first round finish, and the other Duncan got it. I don't know if they have any relation, but that's kind of funny. Chris Duncan at lightweight beat Omar Morales by split decision, the ninth fight of the night, and it was kind of funny because Omar was, I saw one betting site had him as like the highest bet on underdog on the card, and he happens to be the one in one of the split decisions. Crazy. Anyway, Yanal Ashmos at lightweight knocked out Sam Patterson. First round, 1 minute and 15 seconds into that one. Did not have Ashmos there. Mokaev and Fio, I had a couple bets on either one of those guys. But Fio claims he had Mokaev tapping like 3 separate times in the fight now. This is after the fact, and the ref missed it or something, and then he got submitted. Talk about submission artists getting submitted with a neck crank by Mokaev, 4 minutes and 32 seconds into round number 3 at their flyweight fight. So there's some controversy there. And then the other split decision, or one of 3, I should say. Lerone Murphy at featherweight over Gabriel Santos, and then the other Duncan. TKO Dusko Todorovic, Christian Leroy Duncan. Gave him a nice nasty knee injury, I guess, in the first round. 1 minute and 52 seconds into the fight. That middleweight one was done. I don't do the first round bets very often just because, it's hard to predict. But if you see a guy with like 4 TKOs in his last five fights and they're all in the first round, I mean, this pattern alone would say, do it. Try it. I got the wrong Duncan on that one. What the hell? Okay, so Jake Hadley, 130-pound catchweight, TKO'd Malcolm Gordon. I kind of saw that one coming. That was the very first one that turned green for me. That was a first round knockout too. I did not see that coming. 1 minute and 1 second in. Joanne Wood over Luana Carolina. That was fairly easy to predict was going to go to decision. Didn't quite know who was going to win, but Joanne Wood got the win. And then I had Ludovic Klein. I thought was going to win this one. Ended up a draw with Jai Herbert. Majority draw. Second fight of the night. And then Veronica Hardy versus Juliana Miller. That was a decision win for Hardy. Didn't really see that coming either. But hey, you win some, you lose some. This week we got a couple events. We got PFL and UFC on ESPN 43. Marlon Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. It's a very interesting matchup on paper. I would think Vera has got to be the favorite. I haven't seen the odds yet. But yeah, Corey has been really at the height of his talent at different stages and just knocked people out really quick. Is it luck? Is it skill? You don't know sometimes until a guy gets tested by a dude named Vera. So we'll see how that goes. A main event bantamweight, you don't really see those a lot if it's not for a championship. But yeah, looking forward to that one. It should be good. Co-main event is a lady that just signed a big deal with the UFC, Holly Holm, 14-6, fighting Yana Santos, who I actually have not really heard of. She's 14-6 as well at bantamweight. And then, if you know the lingo, you know this next fight. Nate Landwehr at featherweight fighting Austin Lingo. That's his name, 9-1. Landwehr is 16-4. We got Andrea Lee against Macy Barber at flyweight. Barber 11-2. Lee 13-6. Alex Perez 24-7 at flyweight fighting Manel Kape 18-6. We got Chidi Njokuane 22-8 at middleweight fighting Albert Duraev 15-4. Daniel Pineda 27-14 at featherweight fighting Tucker Lutz 12-2. Stephen Peterson 19-10 at featherweight fighting Lucas Alexander 7-3. Welterweights Trevin Giles 15-4 against Preston Parsons. Great name for a fighter. 10-3 at welterweight, and I can guarantee that's probably why he became a fighter. That's Preston Parsons. CJ Vergara in the third fight of the night, 10-4 at flyweight, fighting Daniel Da Silva, 11-4. Manuel Torres, 13-2 at lightweight in the second fight of the night, fighting Trey Ogden, 16-5. Lightweight, and Victor Altamirano, 11-2 at flyweight, fighting Vinicius Salvador, 14-4 flyweight, first fight of the night. So I got some analyzing to do on that one. That's crazy record situations. And we've got quite a beefy card with the PFL. It's going to be in Europe, in Newcastle, Northumberland, England. Main event of Simeon Powell against Muhammad Amin. Powell 7-0. Amin is 5-1. And we got Dakota Ditcheva 7-0 at flyweight fighting Malin Hermanson 5-4. Those are females. In case you were fooled by the names. Light heavyweights Ricardo Noslugata. I don't know. 8-3 fighting Jacob Nadeau 5-1. Greet Eekhout 6-4-1 at flyweight fighting Mafida Carmona 4-2. Anthony Salomon 7-1 at light heavyweight fighting Daniel Ladero Gartner 3-1. I don't know if she's related to Holly, but this is Cornelia Holm, spelled the same last name. 5-5 at flyweight fighting Marta Wallazek 6-5. We got Abdullah Rami, 6-1 at light heavyweight, fighting Madeline Pervolescu. That's a male fight. Sorry, light heavyweight, 5-1. That's a crazy name. Lizzie Givers, 3-0 at flyweight, fighting Valentina Scatizzi, who is 1-1 flyweight. Second fight of the night, we got Lewis McGrillen. How about that? McGrillen Evans. That's his full name. McGrillen on the McGrill. Lewis is 4-0, fighting Salih Kalukran, who's 6-7. And then we got Lewis Lee Scott 4-0, fighting Sam Robinson, who's 1-0. And the first fight of the night is Oscar worthy because it's Oscar Owensworth against Lewis Monarch. Monarch 12-6. Oscar is 6-3. 6-3. Alright, so that's it. We're purely a boxing show from now on. That's it. Alright, so this week we've got a Jesus fight of the week. We've got a female championship. Somebody's got to go fight. We got a lot to preview. We got fights on tomorrow night on ESPN Plus. WBC International Super Middleweight title.
Night.
Ivan Zuko, 16-0, fighting Jermaine Brown, 12-1. The WBC International Super Middleweight title. And I believe it's in Italy. Milan. It's going to be on the Zone and ESPN Plus. How's that possible? I thought they were competing with each other. Crazy. Alright. We got one in the United Kingdom. Lyndon Arthur, number 22 at light heavyweight. 21-1, fighting Brian Nahuel Suarez, 18-1 at light heavyweight. IBO World Light Heavyweight title, which is vacant, is on the line there. So we go to Down Under. Not really a title on the line there, but there's a couple fights going on. Costa Rica. Got a big title fight here. Jessica Basoto Salazar. She's undefeated at 11-0. Fighting Yocasta Valley, 27-2. IBF World Minimum Weight title and the WBO World Minimum Weight title. Costa Rica. Then we got Jessica Yolanda Bop, 37-3. Fighting in Norladies Greater, 13-2. Some weird names we got this week. Now we got somebody else got to go fight. Okay, here's over in Manchester, United Kingdom. We got Lawrence Okoli, 18-0, fighting David Light, 20-0, which is ironic because this is cruiserweights. WBO World Cruiserweight Championship. Okoli versus Light. And then co-main event, Michael Gomez Jr., 18-1 against Levi Giles, 13-0 for the English super featherweight title. Somehow they still got a TBA on here. I gotta get to England. TBA, middleweight fight. Gotta make middleweight too. Nothing really too crazy on that one. And then we've got some more in the UK. The WBO, WBC, WBA, and WBC titles. What about this name? Raven Chapman, 5-0, fighting Linda Laura Lecca. 15-5-2 at featherweight. WBC International Featherweight title. Then we got Nathan Heaney, 16-0, fighting Jack Flatley, who is 23-1. That's for the WBA Continental middleweight title. Andrew Kane, 10-0, fighting Iona Baluda for the WBC International Silver Super Bantamweight title, 15-4. Baluda. Jason Cunningham, 31-7, against Miguel Gonzalez, 33-3, for the WBO International Super Bantamweight title, which is vacant. Won't be anymore after this weekend, I guess. And here's the female championship fight of the week here. Somebody's always got to go. This is on ESPN Saturday. Jose Carlos Ramirez, 27-1 against Richard Comey, 34-1. 30 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. It's going to be a fight at super lightweight. No titles, but this one. Siniesa Estrada, 23-0. We know it's a female fight. We know we got Siniesa versus Tina. Tina Ruprecht is the opponent here. 12-0-1. It's going to be a minimum weight title fight. Minimum weight. WBA World Minimum Weight and WBC World Minimum Weight. 10 2-minute rounds at minimum weight. Somebody's over. Got to go there. And then the biggest undercard fight that we got there is a lightweight. Raymond Muratalla, 16-0 against Humberto Galindo, 14-2-1. And of course, we got big Showtime lineup, which has a Jesus somebody's got to go fight of the week. It's unbelievable. David Benavidez against Caleb Plant in the main event. Benavidez 26-0, Plant 22-1. This is for an interim World Super Middleweight title, WBC. And Caleb Plant has recently been training with none other than ex-UFC fighter. Actually, I don't know. Was he in the UFC? He was just in Strikeforce, Bellator. Anthony Showtime Pettis. Saw some pictures out there on social media of them working together. So I don't know if that will help or hurt him.
I mean, this fight is pretty interesting.
A guy like Benavidez.
You got, with Plant, you always seem to have bad blood with him, his opponent. Yeah, real bad blood when he fought Darrell a few months ago. He knocked him out. He was like, pretending like he was shoveling dirt on him. And with Benavidez right now, it's another guy that, can be extremely volatile. So you're going to get a fight here with two very strong personalities. And, premier type fighters. I'm just thinking Benavidez has a little bit less in him. Aside from Plant's devastating knockout of Darrell, he's more of a fast hand boxer. Where Benavidez is more of the puncher. So I think you're going to get a situation here where you're going to see Plant try to box, use his hand speed, keep it on the outside, and I think you're going to see Benavidez try to walk him down, use that power. And I think you're going to see almost similar to the Plant versus Canelo fight.
Bingo. Exactly.
Yeah.
That pressure. I see Plant getting ahead early on, but eventually it just, I don't know. I mean, Benavidez may be a better version of Canelo.
Yeah.
He has that same pressure style that Plant wilted before. And, Plant does seem to have power, but Darrell is past his prime. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one. Either way. Caleb just has that certain style that it makes him a little bit different, but also predictable in a lot of ways. So you can always slip in that knockout punch, but if you figure him out, like Canelo did, it's downhill from there for him. So Benavidez undefeated. He's figured a lot of guys out. So I don't know how that's gonna go, but I mean, Caleb Plant by knockout if there's any way he's winning. We're gonna have to slip that one in under the radar. Alright, we got welterweights, number 6 versus NA. Abel Ramos, 27-5-2 at welterweight, fighting Cody Crowley, 21-0. And then we have our Jesus, somebody's got to go fight of the week. Number 10 at super welterweight, 19-0, looking for number 20. Jesus Alejandro Ramos, fighting Joseph Spencer. A Jesus versus Joseph fight. That's unheard of. 16-0 is Joseph Spencer. That's a super welterweight matchup. And we got number 56 versus number 101 at super bantamweight. Jose San Martin is number 101. 34-6-1. Fighting undefeated Kevin Gonzalez. 25-0-1. Same card, and there's another Jesus who's undefeated on that card. I didn't even see that until now. Jesus Abel Ibarra, 15-0 at super featherweight, fighting Demir Zamora. Now this somebody's always got to go fight because he's 10-0. Super featherweights. Two amazing Jesus fights on one card. We had like an official video segment where we could send a crew out. That would be the fight to do it. 2 Jesus fights of the week. to be there. Alright, so that's about it for the upcoming schedule. What did we miss? We missed like 2 weeks of boxing coverage. Big crazy story this week I just read before I got on the show. Don King has acquired another stellar young talent. Have you heard, Tony?
I heard that. Yeah, what was it? Somebody left. What was the promotion? They were just signed to it. They signed with Don King. He's like 93.
Adrien Broner. Yeah.
That's who it was.
He's about billions. Don King wants some billions.
Yeah. Yeah, Don King's like, oh, you're about billions? Not anymore.
Nope. Not in my town. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I didn't say anything on the air, but I saw a couple, grumblings that Don King was in the hospital. I was like, oh, geez, here we go. But no, I guess whatever he had blew right over. Good to go. So now, reports of his demise have been greatly exaggerated. He's back on top with Adrien Broner.
I mean, I can't believe him and Vera are still working. I mean, now Don King hasn't done much in the last decade or so. He's had, I think his last world champion might have been, what was the boy that, Tavares Cloud, I think. And that was 2013 when Bernard Hopkins beat him. Oldest man to win a world title. And he was like, yep, I just took Don King's last champion. That was, like I said, 10 years ago. And King hasn't been doing, many shows. We saw him in Brockton in 2012. And he seemed, very energetic. But Bob Arum's been, superhuman. It's like, I swear, that guy must have sold his... Well, both these promoters must have sold their souls to the devil. Because they're both in their early 90s. And both of them have always come off as not the most ethical human beings, to say that. Bob Arum, when he was 88 years old or 87 years old, signs a 7-year contract to keep promoting fights.
They're like cockroaches. You just can't kill them. Cockroaches and rats. Yeah. I mean, it's astonishing.
They said, if there was ever an asteroid hit the Earth, in fact, I want to go back and I want to remake the movie Armageddon. It came out in 1998 with Bruce Willis and all that. That Affleck, I want to remake it because there's a line in that movie that it's historically proven to be incorrect, and they say if this asteroid hits Earth, Billy Bob Thornton says, if this asteroid hits Earth, it's a global killer. Nothing will survive, not even bacteria. It's like nothing will survive, not even bacteria, except for Don King and Bob Arum. They'll live through anything.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
In fact, they'll probably try to promote the asteroid and see how they can make money off it.
Pay-per-view. Watch till the end.
They'll be promoting which ocean it hits.
Oh, jeez. So I guess last week's big fight was Joseph Diaz versus Mercito Gesta. That was a split decision loss for Joseph Diaz. Also 32-4-1. Gesta 34-3-3 at super lightweight. Went all 10. And we had a knockout early in the card. Oscar Duarte Dorado was 25-1-1 with a knockout in the 8th over Alex Martin. Also 18-5 at lightweight. That was last Saturday. And we had somebody that was going to go fight.
The thing with the card last Saturday was the real interesting fight. Unfortunately, got called off because of that was going to be the fight between Zerto Ramirez, who had the opportunity to interview a couple years ago. He's coming off that loss to Beeble, and that was his first career loss. He's 44-1. Gave Beeble a tough fight, but Beeble just outworked him, and he was going to fight perennial contender, tough Philadelphia kid Gabe Rosado, and Gabe will fight anybody. Gabe will give anybody a hell of a fight. Gabe, unfortunately, is on the back nine. He's had some really tough fights. So this was going to be the crossroads fight. How does Ramirez rebound from the loss, his first career loss to Beeble, and does Gabe have enough left in the tank to really, pressure him
and moving up in weight too. Gabe moving up in weight.
Because Gabe's normally 168, and Zerder did not make the weight. So, and any time, like when you fight amateur, when you fight college, there have been times I've been going. I would go to a fight and they'd be like, your opponent didn't make weight, your opponent was sick, your opponent didn't show up. There was a blizzard in wherever, and the other team couldn't make it, and your opponent didn't come down. And that would always be a disappointment. And, you worked hard, but then you look at it, you're like, okay, I didn't get to fight this week, I'm going to fight next week. Because we had cards every weekend. When you put all this work in, you're a pro, and you're working on peaking at the right time, and especially when you're getting ready for a 10 or a 12 round fight, and something like that happens, that's, really demoralizer.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the rap on Zerdo though is he should be fighting cruiserweight.
Wow.
Because I guess he had that rehydration down so good that that one fight when he fought that European guy, it was like two weight divisions different. So maybe it's time for him to move up to cruiserweight.
Yeah. I mean, there were certain guys that really knew how to cut weight like that. Two of my personal favorites were, always doing that, and that was Arturo Gatti. He was always killing himself to make 130, then 135, and then 140. So the fact that he got up to 147, and he just couldn't compete at 147. The other one was Vinny Paz. Vinny Paz was always killing himself to make weight. And in fact, if you go back and you watch the movie Bleed for this, it's like when he first, starts training with Kevin Rooney, and Rooney's like, we'll get on the scale. And he's like, no. He goes, you just fought 2 weeks ago. It's like, how much heavier can you be? And he's like, oh my God. He's like, dude, he goes, you're like this much heavier, but you're in shape. He's like, maybe you shouldn't be fighting at 140 anymore. Maybe you should be fighting at 154. And he's like, yeah, but I won my first title at 135. He goes, yeah, well, the first time I got laid was in the back seat in a parking lot. He goes, doesn't mean I have to do that every time now.
We'll remember that. I like that.
Yeah.
We had the big baby.
That was, Aaron Eckert pulled that line off his Kevin Rooney. It was a great line.
The big baby was in action in Dubai as well. Stayed undefeated. Brought down Lucas Brown in the 6th round. Jarrell Miller, 26, 0-1 now. It was a TKO. Lucas Brown came in at 31-3.
Now, how's his conditioning going? Because I know a couple times he's been winning fights, but his conditioning didn't look great.
Well, it's in Dubai. What does that tell you? It's an attraction fight. I don't know if he's actually been there. He's a guy who's been really active lately, but the heavyweights draw the crowds. But yeah, that was in the news. So there's a little bit of that in that fight. Lucas Brown. He last had some very quick work. Knocked out Junior Fa in the very first round back in last summer. So, June 5th, 2022 down in Melbourne, Australia. All his losses have been since 2018 against pretty formidable opponents. Yeah, that was a bad one. Jarrell Miller. Check him out now. Okay. He last fought last July. TKO'd his guy in 4 rounds. Actually had one little unanimous decision. Screw up a 5-fight win streak there. against some guy named Ariel Esteban Bracamonte. Record of 11-7. He's been knocking out every guy since then. Derek Cardenas and Lucas Brown. That fight with Thomas Adrien back in 2018. Knocked him out in the second round. Back in the day. Adrien was a hell of a fighter. He couldn't get enough credit. Back in his prime, he was mean. Alright. Did you guys see any tag team wrestling while we were on break? I mean, tag team boxing.
I did not watch any. Okay, let me rephrase it. The only TV I watched from Friday to yesterday was Monday night in the bar. They had Monday Night Raw on while we were doing karaoke.
Oh.
The TV never went on in my room.
Sweet. So,
at one point I was in the fitness center the morning.
Quick question.
And I made a joke on Facebook, which you might have seen.
When is Hulk Hogan coming on the show? I'm assuming you booked him.
That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well,
You never know.
I don't know. You see the one morning when I was in the fitness center at the hotel? And I was like, anybody that's at the fitness center right now is going to get contact drunk from my sweat coming off. Man, I'll tell you, people don't realize, like, the difference in, like, region, zones, altitudes, and all that when you work out. Like, I know, like, every year I'd be up here working out. And I would go down to Florida, and I would go do my workout. But I would fatigue so much faster. Like, oh, my God, I would fatigue so much faster. And I don't think much of it. This year, I finally really realized that I went down to the fitness center. I hadn't drank yet. I had a few beers that morning at like 5:30 a.m., but I haven't really, started the pounding of them yet. So it's about, in the afternoon, I'm in the gym, and then I get up and I got to do a run. And I was like, man, I am pouring sweat. I mean, pouring sweat. And I'm like fatiguing, like within 3 minutes. And I did my whole 20-some minutes, and I did a pretty good pace. Then I did another 7-8 rounds of shadow boxing, and I am like literally like I was in a sauna. And I was like, you know what? It's this Florida humidity, even though I'm inside, I feel like I'm breathing soup. Mm-hmm. The air was so thick. It was like breathing soup. So now you go to like Colorado and all that, and the air is so thin. But here the air is so thick.
Yeah. I might find out this September what the air in Florida is like.
You'll have a good time.
I have been invited to Siesta Key vacation for 10 days in September in a house that's already going to be rented by my girlfriend and her friend. I'm
Not
assuming
to be, no fun, but I got to cut off because I have people that just showed up.
Oh.
To my house. I got to help get this dog out.
Alrighty then. Well, we were kind of running out of content anyway. Not too much to talk about unless we want to get all caught up from 2 weeks ago, but I've already forgotten half that shit. So, adios, amigos.
I send you guys some pictures when you get a chance. Let me know what you think.
All right.
Cool. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Till next week.
Let's see.
Oh, the Hulk Hogan pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be wild if we get him on.
Yeah. I keep reading stuff about he's got really bad legs, so it makes sense he'd be sticking around his shop and his bar and all that. But yeah, we didn't get Tony to say Clearwater once. That's half the fun part when he goes on those vacations.
I think Hogan is about my age.
Yeah.
And you could imagine the years of abuse that, of course, we know wrestling is not really wrestling. But, just the damage your body would take it in that occupation.
Oh, yeah, well, especially because,
amazing he lasted.
Half of it was the look, and you had to do steroids for that look, So I'm sure that...
Yeah, well, that too. And then you add the constant travel and just the beating. I was watching a qualifying school for WWE. This is years ago, and I'm telling you, that's not a joke. You've got to be a fairly good gymnast, acrobatic. There's a lot of stuff they put those guys through, and year after year, it's amazing. His career lasted that long.
Yeah.
I don't even know what is he doing now. Is he doing anything now, Hogan?
Obviously, he's running a shop, and he's doing the bar too. I guess he's Florida guy. He hangs out in Florida with Tony. People like Tony. He just fucking. He's like branded himself right, and he got canceled and uncanceled. Remember that briefly? He was on the outs because he had a racist joke or two he told on the bus. The back of the bus, of all places. Yeah. I can remember a couple guys over here. There's one of them funny but not funny. A lot of laugh at it stories. So this gorilla, little actual gorilla, got loose from Franklin Park Zoo, they call it, over here in Boston area. I've been to it a few times. They got this big gorilla enclosure. Most people just go up the glass and try to get the thing to give him the middle finger because he will do it. So this gorilla escaped there for real, and he was hanging out on one of the corners out beyond the zoo, and these two radio guys, very famous radio guys in the Boston area, got suspended for a week because they made a joke about him getting on a certain bus in that neighborhood that, I guess the low-income kids used to ride or something like that. Automatically deemed ultra racist, because he wanted to catch the bus,
Wow.
They got
so
suspended.
the woke crowd jumps to the conclusion that black people are gorillas.
Yeah.
When that is so racist on their side, and then they go overboard to try to say that they're not racist. That is racist. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, the backlash. But yeah.
Yeah, that and I may have mentioned this to you before, Rich, but I think about 20 years ago, when the underground was still getting going, and there are a lot of fighters on there, but there was also, we get into some crazy threads too, and there was an incident where a gorilla did escape, and apparently he'd snatched a little girl, and I can't remember how it ended. I think the girl was okay, and they may have had to put the gorilla down, which was sad, but what could you do?
Yeah.
But this thread in the underground, could you submit? Could you take out a gorilla? Could you choke out a gorilla? And so this idiot that started this was saying, well, he said gorillas have human anatomy, and they have,
Joe Rogan. There's a whole segment on this on his
the jugular veins in their neck, and he talked about that thread.
Mike, no, not that thread, but on the gorilla and chimpanzee strength and everything.
Well,
if you ever seen a shaved gorilla,
here's
and seen their muscles, like you'd flip. Like,
well, this is nuts on every level. But it had hundreds of responses, and I confess, I was posting like crazy back then, but I had to jump in and say, this has to be the most retarded threat in the history of the universe. But here I am jumping in on it.
Yeah.
Well, first off, could you imagine the psychology of getting near something like that?
Yeah.
So you're going to take its back. Okay, the thing's arms are, 6 feet long.
Yeah.
So he's going to come around and
And he
throw
bites.
you. Those
He
teeth
bites.
that bite through a coconut. How are you going to arm bar him? I mean, these idiots were talking about arm barring the gorilla.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, the one that was on
what's the
Xanax.
leverage at?
It was the one that attacked that lady and ripped her face off. It's just a chimpanzee, I believe.
Yeah, that was a chimp.
Yeah, and he was
Yeah,
on Xanax.
that was a chimp.
She was feeding him Xanax, which is supposed to calm you down. She got her face ripped off.
You got to understand, even a chimp, from everything I've read, is stronger than just about any 3 powerlifters on the planet. Now, you take a gorilla.
Oh.
Now, what are you going to do? I mean, I can't believe that these guys, that this thread just went on and on. And, man, I'm telling you, that had to be, or you're going to try a stand-up game, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to go up and punch him. Take them head on like that. Yeah, see how that works out. Man.
Yeah, there was some pretty big ones in those.
Just the thought that someone really thought that they could take the back of a gorilla, put on a rear naked choke, and put the gorilla to sleep.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You got to throw a frog in there first. Get him distracted. You got to see the frog monkey video. That's a reference to that. Frog rapes monkey. Search that in your search box one day. Frog rape or something like that they called it. The kids. Because they were in one of them zoos and there was like an enclosure like that where it was all glass and there was a little monkey and he saw a frog and he starts, jerking off with it. So, one of the kids goes, "Oh, that's frog rape." Yeah, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on YouTube. Just the look on his face once he realizes it works well. It's like classic. Oh man, we are too much like monkeys. But anyway, yeah. So Tony's got to get Hulk on the show. Hulk Hogan. I didn't even get a chance to really ask him how spring training was. I did see on Facebook that he got on the news, or on the broadcast, in his regalia, his fan regalia. And he sounded like he had a good time. We got some press conference quotes from Benavidez and Plant. Oh, Benavidez, settle down, buddy. I'm gonna break Caleb's jaw on Saturday night by the 6th round, says Benavidez.
Well, the only thing, you just wonder about Benavidez' death thing, if he's really in a dogfight. That's always the question. I mean, I still have to favor him.
Yeah.
But it's I think there's enough suspense. I'm definitely going to be watching, for sure.
Oh. We're going to see what his chin is like on Saturday, says Benavidez. I'm definitely the harder puncher. I've had this power. I've just tweaked it, and now I'm even stronger. This is a boxer versus a pressure fighter. We're coming out on top. Caleb says, the fans are going to see me get my hand raised. That's what I'm guaranteeing. He's just...
Well, this is, when you think about it, this is a crossroads fight for both these guys. Because the winner, you'd have to think, he's got to jump up in the Canelo lottery.
He says, this is
If
a good
Plant
legal
can pull it off,
argument
and
here.
if Benavidez stops him, then the clamor for him to fight Canelo, and Canelo has said, he's got Canelo's got his tough defense coming up. You know.
Yeah.
Like, but then after that, he wants Bivol at 175 in a rematch, and then he said, then we'll see what happens there. But man, this is going to be interesting. But the loser Saturday night, Plant's second loss, you know, at the big time. I mean, it's not going to destroy him as a fighter, but man, it's going to sure be a notch down, you know. But yet, if he comes through, how's that going to affect David? You know, fascinating stuff.
So he says, I feel I'm the better boxer, this is Plant. I have the better IQ and I have more experience. I have the better pedigree, and it's going to show on Saturday night. Also added, David is a good fighter, and he knows I'm a good fighter too. I'm not interested in fighting bums. I want to fight good fighters for the fans and for my legacy. So yeah, he wants to handle it. We got Jesus quotes too. Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. Jesus versus Joseph. Jesus says, this is the funny part, I'm coming to make a statement. This is Jesus. At 154 pounds, whoever wins this fight catapults himself to the next level. That's what I'm here for. This is Jesus Ramos Jr. fighting Joey Spencer. He says, I called for this fight. I made this fight happen along with Jesus, who accepted it. Jesus accepts everything, doesn't he? This is the fight.
Okay, who is fighting Joey Spencer?
Jesus Ramos Jr.
Okay.
That was somebody's always got to go fights.
Yeah, is that on the undercard of the Plant fight?
Showtime, yeah. Showtime.
Okay, it's on the under. Okay, well, yeah, that'll be interesting. Joey Spencer's, you know, so far he's done everything he's needed to do, but you know, he's fun to watch. We'll see how that one goes. You know, and I keep thinking back though on, you know, Plant brought a new trainer in after the Canelo loss, and supposedly the trainer's really worked with him on his power.
Yeah.
He showed it against Durrell. And
a lot of the MMA fighters, like Pettis, who he just worked with, Plant, are trying to get into their own promotions, and they're doing MMA and boxing on the same card, or they're doing bare knuckle more and more themselves. Is what I'm starting to see. Like these guys are, a lot of these ex-UFC guys are transitioning to bare knuckle. That's one of the reasons we got to get Damon Feldman back on the show. I know we had him on years and years ago, before it even really started. And I get the emails from...
You know, that whole... You know, the whole title of that, bare knuckle, in those early days, you know, going back like 94, 95, they would even, at the UFC, they'd say, his bare knuckle record.
Yeah.
He's undefeated in bare knuckle. It's kind of funny how everything's went full circle now. Then they got away from saying that phrase. It was no holds barred, bare knuckle, no time limits, you know, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, you know, in those early days. Well, you've probably seen some of the videos from that.
Oh, yeah.
Bare knuckle. Yeah.
I had like the 25-year history of the UFC DVD when it first came out. And I had like the top 100 series of the UFC fights back, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. They put it out, so I've seen some of the older ones. And it's always funny to see Brian from Fox News, Brian Kilmeade, being the first little reporter interviewing people at UFC. Some of the first ones.
Yeah, and then,
Joe Rogan with hair.
If you see one of the biggest freak show fights of UFC 3, Keith Hackney against Emmanuel Yarborough.
Oh yeah, they used to show that one on Spike when Spike TV had the rights to all of them. Oh my God, it was hilarious.
And then you remember Kilmeade saying Yarborough is coming forward with Judo and Subu. So Brian pronounced his stuff right.
Yeah. That's pathetic. But yeah, it's really becoming more of a mixed martial arts environment, you know, like as things are branching off. And, well, the PFL I didn't think was going to be a success, but that keeps going. One championship is bringing fights over to the U.S. And the UFC is not really having any trouble getting fighters still.
Yeah, the sad thing about Bellator, though, is I remember when they, back in the first decade of the century, they were on MTV, I believe, or MTV.
Oh yeah.
MTV2, and which was okay. But then they went to the Spike, and in Paramount there was something in between that. What was Spike called when they changed? Not to Paramount. It's Paramount now. I think there was something else. Do you remember the name of that?
Oh, I don't know. You're talking UFC or Bellator?
Yeah, talk about Bellator. I was just saying that when Bellator was on Spike, but it wasn't Spike anymore. It was something I just can't remember it now. But when they were there, they had shows, quite often. They were, the Friday nights. They had a lot of good fights. Now it just seems like, what are they on? Showtime.
Yeah, ESPN has some stuff on late night sometimes when there isn't like basketball going on or stuff like that. But yeah, friggin' goddamn golf tournament was like a damn Rocky movie this weekend. I didn't win shit for the first weekend on golf since I've been betting on it. And the big tournament came down to the final two guys. They had a chance to either tie or go ahead, and they fucked up the last hole. So they were done. But I thought it was very interesting. At first I was going to be like, criticize the guy, but the guy who finished the whole 18 holes first goes out to the driving range immediately. Once his round is done, he just starts hitting balls. Like, not accepting that it's really over. He's gonna think he's gonna have at least a
playoff well, I guess hole. We got the Masters coming up. What do we got? 2 weeks till the Masters, I think. Maybe 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know they had events like one of the ones they're doing this weekend is golfers split up into like 3 different events now. So it's kind of easier to pick the guys that are going to stand out.
Well, in golf, they're having something, and if you've been betting on this, you follow it something like maybe, I guess they're having something similar to the old football league, the American Football League, and then the National Football League were 2 separate organizations till they merged, I think, back in the late 60s. But we're seeing that live, I guess, or live, or whatever it is.
It's like a circus environment. It's like teams and
they're
themes
paying
and
them a lot
like
more, and it's only 3 days, and there's no cut, and they've got a lot of talent. So eventually, there's going to have to be some kind of cross-pollination, I would think.
Yeah. A lot of the good golfers are over there. In Saudi Arabia, I guess it's based, or I don't know if that's where they do all the events, but yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And
no, they move around, and the problem is that the PGA has got a monopoly on it, and they're trying to keep them off regular television.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, there's a thing. It's a reality. It's called sport washing, and that's what they've been accused of doing over there in Saudi Arabia. They like the events there with the friggin' Tommy Fury fight with Jake Paul there. That whole setup in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi, wherever the hell they had it, that was all alleged to be part of what they call sport washing over there, to like have the government invest in all these big worldwide events where they all look respectful and calm and peaceful watching a fight and stuff like that, but behind the scenes they're murdering people and cutting people up like that Khashoggi guy years ago that they kind of admitted to taking out. So yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You got all this money over there, they want to spend it, but the way they're spending it, even though it kind of forwards boxing and MMA a little bit, it's kind of like it's all being done as a PR stunt, not so much as to support.
Well, I think we could say the same thing about a lot of the sponsors in this country, too.
Right.
I mean, if we want to start morality, I think we're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, boxing especially has been rotten to the core for decades.
Like
So,
Prime Energy Drink now being a sponsor of the UFC. Boy, they've been pimping that, too. It's getting more and more pronounced all over the cage. And there was just a few months ago, there was Jake Paul was calling out Dana White for not having the right health insurance and this, that, and the other thing. So that's a development I didn't think we'd see coming. They put out a freaking rap about Dana White. It's unbelievable.
well, you know, there's an old cliche, Rich. Sometimes a man lives long enough and sees about everything reversed. Everything goes in circles. You know. Well, some of these things that you just wouldn't believe, and that goes for a lot of things in life.
Oh yeah.
Never thought I'd see that.
Right. All right. Well, on that note, we'll see how well I do with my analysis this week, and I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with like 2 or 3 sure things and just mix them up. I think
this fight thing is really intriguing the more I think about it, because like I said, I'll stand by, you know, Benavidez I think just has a little too much, but man, I just really hoping for a good fight one way or the other.
Yeah. Plant is actually somebody who come from a long line of, not a long line, but a long background in street fights. Talk about bare knuckle. Before he even got into boxing, he was doing street fights and, you know, Rocky V style. And, you know, in rough neighborhoods where, you know, sometimes people would probably pull a gun to stop a fight. Maybe not shoot you, but. So, yeah, it's a tough opponent, but probably not the absolute toughest. Crazy situation he's ever faced. So I like this knockout.
And see, that's what makes it intriguing. And you know, I've been watching the promotions for it too, and I'm telling you, these guys are marketing geniuses. They know how to market fights. You know, you look at the UFC countdown and embedded and all that. I mean, they really know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. All right, sir. I guess we will enjoy the fight, and we will talk next week, all right?
Yes, sir. Adios. Thanks for stopping by.